So we're going to start off by creating our project and doing all the setup stuff. We covered this all pretty thoroughly in section 1, so I'm going to go pretty fast here. Let's create a new project. We will cleverly call it Puggle so nobody knows what we're up to. Hit OK. Let's remember to change our properties and add a class path that points to my Flash Utilities folder. For some reason, Flash Develop has this error where it seems to overwrite the default project directory the very first time I add a class path. Hopefully they will fix this in a future version, but if that happens, make sure you recreate this project directory just by pointing to whatever directory your project is in. I will say OK. I will jump to Flash. We'll create a new Flash file. I can save it as Puggle. We'll say the document class is Puggle. And then we can go back into Flash Develop, and I'll create a new class called Puggle. Again, like before, I will create a setup physics world function. I'll hit Control-Shift-1 to generate the function. And I'm actually going to do something a little different here. You remember that pixel to meter ratio constant that we had set up before? I've found that in practice, both that variable as well as my B2 world instance get passed around to so many different classes and so many different objects that I sort of make them pseudo-global variables. Basically, I do that by making them static variables of a class. And so I'm going to do that here. I'm going to create a variable called, let's call it physevals, and I will create a public static constant that I'm going to call ratio. And then I am also going to create a private variable that is my world. And then one really cool thing that Flash Develop lets you do is if I hit Control-Shift-1 on this world variable, I can have it automatically create getters and setters for me. And then I could probably do some error checking here. Like during this set world function, I can check and see if the world has already been defined. If it has, if world doesn't equal null, there might be some kind of weirdness going on. I could throw an error. I could probably do the same thing for the getter, and all that would make the prospect of kind of adding global variables a lot less scary. The one drawback is if you ever try and reuse any class in this program, you're going to have to make sure you take this physevals class with you, or else everything will break. And by the way, all of this makes me suspect that somewhere out there is some very clever programmer who has figured out how to implement all of this using some variation of the singleton pattern. If that's you and you'd like to share your accomplishments with the world, feel free to send me an email about it, because at the very least, I promise to be interested in what you did. So let's go back to Puggle and finish up our setup physics world. So again, I want to create my world bounds, which is a B2 AABB. We will set the lower bound to, how about like minus 5,000. And we can set the upper bound to 5,000. Sorry, I probably stopped talking there. So we set up our gravity to be a vector like before. Again, we've set our allow sleep variable to be true. And then here's where I'm going to tell it set the world value to this new B2 world. And we're done. I should make sure that this either extends movie clip or extends sprite. Save it. Sorry, I'll hit Control-Shift-1 to make sure that we have our import statement properly included. I will hit F6. And everything seems to be running okay. By the way, if you're wondering why this works in Flash without my setting the proper class path directories, it's because I ended up adding my Flash Utilities folder to my global class paths. And you can do that, by the way, under Edit, Preferences, go to ActionScript, and under ActionScript 3.0 settings, you'll see this is where you can actually add it to your class path. I did it here because I use this Flash Utilities folder not only for Box2D but for other common Flash utilities, and I got tired of setting my class path constantly. I should probably do the same thing in Flash Develop. I just haven't yet. So there you go. Got everything set up and ready to go, and now we can finally move on to something different. Yay!